Welcome back to the channel. I have a real banger video for you today. I'm going to take you through a full-on Meta Ads guide so that by the end you can go ahead and apply these things you've learned in your advertising for you or for your clients in case you're advertising for other companies. But all in all, regardless of whether you're coming in with a beginner, moderate, or intermediate level of knowledge when it comes to Meta Ads, I'll take you from that to fully blown expert by the end of today's video. In fact, I've gone ahead and broken everything down into time steps down below. So if you want to skip a certain section, you can just go ahead and do that right below. Now just make sure that you actually stay and stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to do a massive giveaway, so you will not want to miss that. So with no further ado, let's dive straight into the video. So here's what we'll cover: why and why not should you consider to advertise on Meta, all the assets you need to actually start advertising, how to set up your Meta page, how to set up your Instagram, how to set up your business manager, how to create your first campaign, how to define your budgeting, how to evaluate results, and overall how to optimize everything to your campaigns. So first things first, why should you even consider advertising on Meta in the first place? Well, it's pretty simple. The platform has 1.93 billion active daily users while generating 28 billion total ad revenue every single year. You will find that you will spend roughly $1 cost per click and then $12 CPM. Now, if you don't know what CPM means, don't worry about that. Stick around the video and I'll show you exactly what it is. Now, another consideration why you should advertise on Meta is that it's an incredible ad platform in terms of simplicity and its targeting capabilities. Now, it's an absolute must in your marketing mix. There's no questions about it. However, you should at all costs maintain a strategic balance between multiple platforms, keeping an omni-channel presence for your brand. Now, bear in mind, if you're completely new to Meta, you should know that the platform unfortunately has reached a critical point where the demand for advertising space is less than the supply available, and this imbalance has turned the platform into a fiercely competitive auction place, and this drives up the costs all the time. So this means that advertising on Meta is getting more expensive, and I can assure you that it's not going to go down. In fact, it's never going to go down. But other than that, it's a really great platform for you to advertise your products or services and really just send people to your website to purchase. Now, you can also generate leads, so you can use Meta AdWords to collect names, emails, phone numbers, other credentials from your targeted customers. And on top of that, there's a few different value propositions. So first things first is data buying, all right? Meta is the perfect sandbox to mass test your offer. Whether you're in a budget or you have like a venture capital backing up your business, you can get results in as little as a day, and you can validate whether your product actually works and whether the market even wants your product. Now, the next thing, as I mentioned, is targeting. Meta is by far the ad network with the most information about their users, and this allows you to micro-segment your targeting audience and reach your ideal customers. Not only that, but their machine intelligence works so well that most of the times you don't even have to use targeting at all, since it already knows the exact type of users who are most likely to respond to your ad. Now, bear in mind, you should always follow what the ad platform suggests. For example, in September 2022, Meta recommended account simplification and the use of campaigns like Advantage Plus campaigns and the targeting focus on creative concepts. And what do you know, a year later in 2023, they released a new blog post recommending you to go broad first with your campaigns and that you only use demographics and geographics to limit your targeting, again, placing your ad content at the center of attention. So just to make this clear for you, from 2019 all the way to 2022, insurance-based targeting was the best strategy. Now it's CBOs with broad targeting and the focus on creative concepts. The point is that market conditions change frequently, so make sure that you're on the right side of this play. And the last thing is predictability. On Meta, you can dial in your funnel and your offer so you can consistently put in $1 and you can get out $2, $3, $5, hell, even $10 with predictability. Now, as the saying goes, the most dependable and consistent way to generate wealth is to turn advertising into profits. So let's talk about the assets you're going to need to actually start running ads. Well, first things first is your business manager. Now, business manager is the container that holds all your Meta business assets. Within your business manager will live your ad accounts, the pages, the pixels, as well as the payment methods. Now, below your business manager, you have the ad accounts. You will have one business manager, but inside your business manager, you can actually go ahead and have 5 ad accounts. This is where you create all your campaigns. Then we have your page. So the Meta page is where you will actually run your ads from. Then moving on, you have your domain. Now, Meta requires you to verify the ownership of your domain in order to drive ads to it. And then you have the pixel. The pixel is a simple piece of code that you put on your website that will track all the visitors' actions for you. So that way you can actually track what sort of results your ads are yielding. Now, bear in mind, ad attribution is all fucked to say the least. So I always emphasize that you should use a third-party attribution tracking software to work with reliable and valid data. Anyways, Lastly, you have the payment method, which is quite simple enough. I think it's self-explanatory. I'll touch a bit more on that later on. Now, if you already have all the assets set up, you can actually skip to the following time step for the campaign creation step by step. But if you don't, let me actually just quickly run you through it. Now, the key here is to use real brand information as well as giving Meta as much information as possible about your business, because this way you're going to create more trust with them and letting them know that you're actually a real and serious business. And this will just really help you down the line, because as you know, these days it doesn't take much for Meta to decide to disable your ads. They want to make sure that you're not a robot and that you're a real business caring about their platform and your customers. Otherwise, they'll just assume that you're breaking policies and causing them to lose users. So the more virtue signaling you can give Meta, the better. Now, having your ad account disabled is very, very common. You just have to accept that it's a part of the game. So if you ever have an ad account shut down, or whatever, like a business manager shut down, don't worry. Like between our business and our clients, we had tons of account shutdowns. I think it's almost more rare to have your ad account not shut down than to have it shut down. But that really depends on your industry, of course. So don't ever worry or stress if your ad account goes down. Just appeal and try to get it back. However, if you're still facing issues and if you have any questions so far, drop a comment down below or join my free school community where you have direct access to me and my team to work on resolving your issues. So grab the link in the description below and see you inside. Now let's talk about step by step on how to create your page. So first things first, you're going to go to this link to sign up. You're going to select the type of page you want to create, whether it's a business/brand or community/public figure. Then you're going to enter in your business information. So for category, type a word or two that describes your business, then add your profile and cover pictures, create your page's username, and then add your page's details. So things like description, contact information, location, available hours, website, etc., etc. Now I have a quick bonus tip here for you. Make sure that before you run ads, your business page has at least 20 posts. So this way, again, Meta will just see that it's a real page, and I recommend you post at least 3 times a day for the first week, and then you can go ahead and decrease that frequency to once per day. And on top of that, just make sure that you always keep your page active, because this will increase the longevity as well as relevance score in their system. Now, once you've done that, let's move on to step number 2, which is creating the business manager. Now, the business manager is a tool designed to be your primary hub on Meta, managing all your pages, accounts, domains, and other assets as well. Now, once again, make sure you use as much real info here as possible. As I've said, this is what this looks like. So you will click on create ad account and fill up all the information with your real business data. Make sure to use a work email as well. You don't want to use Gmail at all. And again, this is only because you want to give the platform as few reasons as possible to go, something might be off here. So try to use a business email if possible, and then nextly confirm the creation of your business manager by clicking on the link in the email that you got. Now, once again, here's another bonus tip for you. Make sure that you go through the business verification process as soon as it's available on your business manager. So this will verify that your business is an actual registered business and add an extra layer of security to your business manager. It's an essential step when it comes to avoiding bans. Now, moving on, let's create your ad account. Your ad account, as mentioned, is the container that will hold all your ad campaigns. So it's an entity that lives inside your business manager. Now, in order to create the ad account, go to business settings inside your business manager, click on ad accounts, click on add, and then create new. Then just simply name the ad account whatever you want. This is only for internal purposes, and select your time zone and currency. Now, make sure that your time zone corresponds to your currency. So if you're in a US time zone, make sure to use US dollar as a currency, for example, because otherwise you will have problems when trying to run ads. Your ads won't deliver, and you will have to create a new ad account. It's going to be just a whole mess. Now, here's another consideration. At the beginning, you will only have permission to create 1 ad account per business manager. As soon as Meta charges your card for the first time, this limit is raised to 3 ad accounts per business manager, and I highly recommend that you create all 3 as soon as they're available to have as contingencies, basically to just have them as backups. So the next thing is connecting your page. You need to connect the page you created to your business manager so that you can run ads on it. So go to business manager settings inside your business manager, and then click on pages, then click add, and then add a page. Then simply just search for the page you created here and then just select it. Since you're already an admin of your own page, you won't need to do any further confirmation. Anyways, let's move on to the payment method. Now you have to add the payment method to your ad account so that Meta can flawlessly charge you. And this is basically what the payment method page looks like. You're going to go to your business settings inside your business manager. You're going to go to payment methods tab and simply add your card. You can also connect a PayPal account or your bank account directly. Just a little side note, I strongly discourage to use PayPal. For some reason, it will increase the likeliness that your ad accounts will be shut down. I don't know why, but Meta just doesn't seem to like it. And again, Meta doesn't really like if the payment doesn't go through, and it disrupts the campaigns. So it also may lead to account shutdowns. Now, other little bonus tip, which I kind of alluded to that in the last section, but if you're running ads for somebody else cause like your client or for another company, make sure you never use your card on their account. They should always add their own card so that number one, they're billed directly from Meta without having you as an intermediary. And number two, the billing information is consistent through their account, meaning the business name on their account is the same as the one on their credit card being charged. Now, this will avoid any account hold due or, any billing issues. And the next step is verifying your domain. And domain verification provides a way for you to sort of claim ownership of your domain in the Meta Business Manager. Now, this has become a must in order to run ads since the iOS 14 update came out. So we have to consider 3 different ways to verify your domain. There's DNS verification, HTML verification, and meta tag verification. Now, only one of these methods is needed, and you can learn more about them in more detail on the Meta supports documents, but here I will go over the DNS verification method, which is the one you are going to use the most. So go to the business settings inside your business manager and click on the domains tab, click add new domain, and then just choose the DNS verification option and copy the code provided. Now, the next step is go in and log into your domain register and visit the DNS settings page. Add a new DNS record as the type with TXT, add an @ symbol in the hosting field if required. Then in the content field, you can paste the verification TXT record provided in the business manager. Then if that's all done, then simply just return to the business manager and click verify. Now, this process will be a bit different for each person depending on your domain register, but it should be really similar to the one that I showed you today. Now, if you still have any issues during this process, try Googling how to add TXT DNS record and then type the name of whatever your domain registrar name is, and then you'll most likely find an exact step-by-step on how to add it up. And then lastly, you have to create the Meta Pixel. Now, the only thing missing before we can actually get into creating your ad campaigns is creating and installing your Meta Pixel. Now, the Pixel is just a little piece of code that you put on all your website pages. It acts as an informant for Meta, giving information about what actions users on your websites are performing. Now, this is how Meta is able to track how many clicks your ads got, how many conversions are generated, which can be purchases, leads, views, or other actions such as adding a product to cart or initiating a checkout, and also how much revenue was actually generated from these conversions. Now, in order to set it up properly, you need to go to the events manager inside your business manager, click connect the data sources and select web, select Meta Pixel, and then just click connect. And then just add your pixel name, enter your website URL to check for easy setup. Now, in terms of actually installing the Meta Pixel, there are 2 main ways of installing the pixel on your website. The number 1 way is passing its code directly into the header of all your pages. Now, this way the Meta Pixel takes care of tracking everything for you, or the second option is connecting it through with the new Meta Conversion API. This way you collect the data directly on your site, then feed this data back to Meta with their API. Now, if you don't know what API is, don't worry, it's not important here. All you need to know that it's just a software intermediary that allows 2 applications to talk to each other. This is also known as server-side tracking, by the way. But anyways, just setting this up could be a whole standalone video in itself. However, all the major website builders such as WordPress, ClickFunnels, Leadpages, WooCommerce, Shopify, they all have the native integrations where you can simply just set it up yourself, where at least the Pixel ID and everything else is automatically set up for you. They all have step-by-step comprehensive documentation on how to set this up, so don't worry about not being able to do this at all. So what I encourage you to do, rather than me explaining it in broad terms, because what you're going to do is going to be more efficient and valuable for you. So what I encourage you to do is actually just go to Google on how to install Meta Pixel, and then whatever your name of your website builder is, and you will definitely find everything you need with that. Now, if you have a company that programmed or maintains your website, just ask them to place the code on the pages, and that's it. Finally, now we actually kind of get into some more exciting stuff, which is actually creating your campaigns. Now, before we do that, let's actually talk about the 3 layers of campaigns. The 3 layers are overall campaign, ad sets, and then the ads themselves. Now, the campaigns is our top level layer where we choose our primary advertising goal, aka our objective. Now, this could be sales, traffic, engagement, leads, app promotion, or even awareness. Depending on your business model, you're going to choose what's the most suitable for you. Are you looking to generate more leads? You choose leads. Are you looking to generate more direct sales? You choose sales. It's that simple. Now, ad set is the second layer that sits inside the campaign. One campaign could have one, or it could have multiple ad sets. And the ad set is where you select the targeting, bidding, placement, schedule, budgeting, and a lot more other things. As mentioned, the third layer is the ad themselves. One ad set can have one or again multiple ads. Now, the ads is the actual advertisements your customers see on their newsfeed. It holds the copy, the headline, the image, or the video of the ads, as well the URL destination of it. So this is how it actually looks like inside the business manager. Now, in terms of creating campaigns, first select your objective. Now, as I said, this is really just a matter of asking yourself, what do you want as a result of this campaign? But I'll just give you some more bonus tips right here. We usually create one campaign per offer to keep things organized and to not mess with each campaign's own optimization. We also like to set campaigns for just data buying and then campaigns for just prospecting. Now, we usually create one campaign to test audiences, one campaign to test creatives, and then one campaign to test different landing pages. Then the winners from each of these campaigns get promoted to a prospecting campaign that has all the best creatives, all the best audiences, and all the best landing pages. And now we can actually group the winners together to actually forge something that's resonating with your audience. Now, ideally, you should set around 70 to 80% of your budget to prospecting campaigns and about 20 to 30% to data buying and testing campaigns. Another thing is using ad set level budget for testing campaigns, so that way you're making sure that each ad set is getting enough ad spend to be able to make a statistically significant decision when optimizing your campaigns. Because if you think about it, if you have a CBO campaign where you set the budget at the campaign level and you have multiple ad sets within that campaign, then Meta will allocate the budget according to its own will, leaving one or two ad sets maybe with little to no budget, making it impossible for us to actually make significant and valid decisions because the ad set was not getting enough budget in the first place. So when buying data, testing out audiences, landing pages, creatives, whatever, you always want to keep as much control over the budget allocation as possible, because this will allow you to actually make valid decisions going on. Now, on the other hand, for prospecting campaigns, as I've mentioned, we like to use campaign level budget optimization because they're just usually more consistent and require less upkeep. Now, these are called CBO campaigns, as I mentioned before. I hope this is not too intense to follow and I managed to explain it simple enough. However, if you're still facing issues or you have any questions so far, drop a comment down below or join my free Skool community where you have direct access to me and my team to work on resolving your issues. Also, you have the chance to participate in a group call with me and my team every single week. So grab the link in the description below and hope to see you inside. So first things first, let's define your targeting. To do so, think about the majority of your customers and answer a couple questions. How old they are, what gender, what do they like, what are their interests, what are the demographics. Try to picture this ideal customer in your hand and use the targeting options accordingly, because Meta gives you a bunch of options to select from, especially the demographics part of it. Now, when it comes to interest targeting, we usually select one at a time so we can test which ones work and which ones don't with the least number of variables. Now, here's a little bonus tip for you once again. I mentioned this before that one of our historically best performing audiences across all industries is broad targeting while focusing on creative concept. This means no segmentation at all. Now, this lets Meta use their algorithm at full steam without limitations and gives them the power to decide which user should see your ad. Just because their machine learning is so powerful and has so much data that this tends to work better than micromanaging your targeting options. Plus, the more data you feed the machine through your pixel, the better the broad audiences will work. Now, as a general rule of thumb, we always like to select audiences that are quite large to avoid small audiences, because when your audiences are too small, you're going to have delivery problems such as way too high frequencies, or you can also see that your CPMs, which is basically how much you pay for 1,000 impressions, you're just going to see your CPM skyrocket. Now, for your advertisements to work profitably, you need to keep your CPMs as low as possible, and targeting large broad audiences helps a lot with that. So don't be afraid of it. Meta knows who should exactly see your ad, no matter how different your products or services may be. Now, pay really close attention. Here, I will start talking about the ad creatives, and if you can only take one thing from all that I've taught you today so far and throw everything else out in the window, this should be the number one concept to focus on, which is ad creatives. There's no other activity or tactic or hack that you could use in your campaigns, targeting, bidding, whatever it is, or any other element of your ad campaign that is going to yield as such high returns as your creatives. A great creative can work with bad targeting, bad campaign structure, bad campaign optimization, and a bad bidding strategy. However, having the perfect targeting, flawless campaign structure, impeccable campaign, and a highly optimized bidding strategy cannot save a campaign with bad creatives. This is really important. So always keep that in mind when creating your ad campaigns. Creatives are our biggest leverage in advertising, and 80% of your focus should be on developing better creatives and testing more variations of that. Now, I've taught you this in my other videos, but 80% of the success of your ad comes from the creative, and 80% of the success of your creative comes from the hook. So let's now actually choose your ad format. Now, a single image and ad is just a simple ad with an image creative, but this is the most used type ad that you usually see running on your newsfeed for you. But don't mistake simple with something that's not performing. We've made our clients millions with just simple image ad. Next up, there's video ads. Now, video ads are by far our best performing ads, and there's no limit on how long your video can be, so you can actually go ahead and take advantage of it to convey emotions and actually show your product's benefits and use cases in its practice, which unfortunately you're just not able to do with image ads in most cases there is. As I've said, the secret for making video ads work is having a strong hook in the beginning to grab people's attention, having a dynamic video to actually keep people watching, and having a strong call to action at the end to invite the viewer to take a desired action at the end of the video. Now, next we have collections. Now, with collections, you can take advantage of Meta's instant experience features, so it's kind of like an on-platform website that loads before loading your actual actual website. Now, the great advantage of these types of ads is that they can take more screen real estate than regular ads, so you tend to have higher click-through rates. Now, let me give you some more tips, okay? So now you can try and test all these different formats, but at the end of the day, what really matters is the image or the video itself that you choose to use in your ads compared with the great piece of copy. And there are 3 keys to creating high-performing ads. Number 1, they have to entice you to stop the scroll. The ad needs to be attention-grabbing to the point where it's more interesting for the user to actually stop scrolling than it is to keep scrolling. Now, this is achieved with your video/image, and it ideally should trigger a reaction from the user in the moment they see it. Number 2, they have to get the feel to click, and you actually have to give a strong reason for the user to click on your website. Now, the best way to achieve this is through curiosity. Now, don't be all clickbaity because your ad will just get rejected, but learn a fine line of where you can actually use curiosity in your ads. And the last thing, which is the most important thing, is that it shouldn't look like an ad at all. Now, it sounds crazy, but nowadays we get flustered with so many ads that by default we have a banner blind within us when we see ads in front of us. So by default, as soon as we see something that looks remotely like an ad that wants to sell us something, we just tend to ignore it in the first place. So therefore, your ad should always strive not to look like an ad, and it should always strive to look like a post from a friend or, like a user's newsfeed or stories. Now that we covered all that, let's talk about writing your ad copy. The key to writing the perfect copy is not to focus on benefits and making promises about the end results, as you probably see on most copywriting courses. And the only reason for that is because if you make any type of claims in your ads, your account will most likely be disabled. You want to keep it as low-key as possible, and you want to keep it under the radar as much as possible. You should avoid this at all costs, any results or claims. You should not use personal attributes on your ads, avoiding at all costs, because being clickbaity or sensationless, using words like fantastic, wonderful, secret, unbelievable, Meta really doesn't like this stuff. Now, next step is actually understanding what dictates your success, because no matter what business you're in, most of the time your most important metric that dictates your success is going to be the return on ad spend, which we call ROAS. So you always have to keep an eye on that. You should always pay attention to what influences your return on ad spend to go up and go down. And for this, you have to understand the 3 metrics that impact your return on ad spend. So they are cost per click, conversion rate, and then average order value. Now, cost per click, as the name suggests, is how much you pay for one click. This is the function of 2 other metrics, which is a CPM and a click-through rate. Now, your CPM depends on your audience and really the countries that you're targeting, but it also depends on how good your ad is. So for example, if Meta considers your ad to be bad, you'll be punished with a high CPM. If Meta likes your ad, meaning it gets a lot of engagement and clicks, you'll be rewarded with a low CPM. If you want to find out how to lower your CPM and save on ad costs, check out this video right here where I dive deep into that topic. Now, next up is conversion rate. So conversion rate is how many people buy your product/service out of all the ones that click on your ad or landed on your website. Now, if your conversion rate is too low, the math is just never going to work in your favor, and that's exactly why it's also really important to invest in conversion rate optimization, because that has a direct correlation on how well your ad performs. A good conversion rate really depends on your industry and really just the pricing of your products, but as a general rule of thumb, we like to have above 2% for e-commerce brands. And as I mentioned, the last thing that contributes to return on ad spend is the AOV, the average order value, and this is how much you get out of one purchase on average. So if you make your users spend more per order, your average order value goes up, and so does your return on ad spend. And you can actually increase your average order value by adding post-purchase upsells and experimenting with different product pricing. So let's talk about how to actually define your budget. Now, your budget is one of the most important elements of your ads, and you can both set it at an ad set level and the campaign level. Now, at onceadvertisements.com, we like to use the ad set level for budgeting and testing new things, and then campaign level budgeting for prospecting campaigns. So once you've already tested something and you know that the ad works well, then it will go into sort of like a full production campaign. And then from there, you should use campaign budget optimization, CBOs. Now, the next question is how much your budget should be. Well, there's a large dependency on a case-by-case basis, but we like to keep it as a general rule of thumb to never go below 0.5x your product price. Now, this means that following this rule, you will let Meta spend per ad set at least half the price of your product, which would equal to a 2x return on ad spend in case you get a purchase within your budget. Now, if you go below that, unfortunately, you're not giving Meta enough budget to buy data. For example, if you sell a $2,000 product and you only test with $20 a day, during a 3-day time period, you only gave Meta $60 to try to get a $2,000 purchase. So I mean, that would be like a 33.3x return on ad spend in case you get a purchase, which is just a little too unrealistic. So when testing, you always have to keep in mind the price of your product and be realistic with it. Don't expect to invest a few bucks and get a sale out of it. Now, when it comes to prospecting campaigns, there's new rules for it. It should be set to as high and as long as it is bringing in sales profitably. Now, we do like to keep prospecting campaigns at a 70 to 80% of the overall account budget, and then the other 20 to 30% goes to the data buying campaigns. Now, lastly, with all this, let's optimize optimize your campaigns for best performance. You always have to be mindful about your target KPIs and compare them to your current results of your campaigns and just adjust accordingly. So let's talk about how to actually optimize your campaigns, because the first thing to note here is the customer journey, meaning how long does it take from your moment a user clicks on your ad to the moment they actually buy and make the purchase decision. Because for some businesses that can take up to 7 days, or for others it's almost instant, and hell, for some businesses it's even 30 days. So take this period into consideration when evaluating your results. So for example, if your customer takes on average 3 days to make a purchase, it doesn't make sense to evaluate the results from yesterday on your campaigns, because you have to give the full 3 days to have a good complete data. And you can easily do that with a third-party tracking system like Triplewill, where you can literally just go to here in retention in the sales cycle, and it literally tells you the days between purchases distributed to each of your products. Now I have a whole separate video dedicated to Triplewill. It's the best tracking software for e-com stores, so if you're interested, check it out right here. Now moving on, the second point here is knowing when to kill the ad sets. As we talked earlier, you have to give it enough budget for Meta to buy data. Then it's just quite simple. After spending the full testing budget, if it hits your target KPIs, you keep it running. If it didn't, you kill it. The key here is to kill it fast. Never ever let clear, undeniable losers run for longer than they should. This is what I see most of you kill the overall ad performance with of your ad accounts. So jumping back, the 3 key elements of return on ad spend, the final point here is identifying the problems and work to solve them. As I mentioned earlier, return on ad spend is composed by the function of CPC, conversion rate, and AOV. So when evaluating return on ad spend, remember never to evaluate it on its own. Always have those 3 other metrics side by side to have and give context on why the return on ad spend is where it's at. And then if it's not satisfactory, see which one of these 3 metrics is poisoning it the most and work on fixing that specific bottleneck. And then the last thing, I want you to subscribe and leave a comment down below with what you thought of this video, because as I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and do something very special for you. I'm going to go ahead and give away a completely free full 60-minute coaching call. All you have to do is just subscribe to the channel and leave a comment under this video, and I'll randomly select an individual. I hope this video was valuable, and let me know if you have any comments down below, and I see you guys in the next one. Cheers.